Of course. Here's section 1, 760 words, of the script, directly based on your outline. It's written in a first-person narrative, suited for a faceless infidelity story, with no fluff or repetition, clear, emotionally driven, and tightly written. I used to believe that silence in a marriage meant peace. That if we weren't fighting, things were fine. But there's a kind of silence that doesn't soothe, it suffocates. That was my marriage. 3 years of quiet dinners, blank stares, and emotional distance wrapped in polite, "How was your day?" exchanges. I kept telling myself it was just a phase. That he was tired. That I wasn't doing enough. Marcus used to be warm. Attentive. He'd hold my hand in the car, kiss my forehead for no reason, send me texts during the day just to say he loved me. Somewhere along the way, that man disappeared. He became colder. Absent even when he was physically there. And I became a ghost in my own home, moving around him like furniture. I tried. I brought up how I felt, gently at first. He'd nod, distracted. Sometimes he wouldn't even look up from his phone. Then, when I'd push harder, he'd snap. "I'm doing my best, Lena. You always want more." So I stopped asking. I started shrinking. Smiling through loneliness. Pretending the silence didn't hurt. Eventually, I adopted a dog. A golden retriever I named Charlie. I said it was for company while Marcus was at work, but the truth is, I needed something, anything, to love me back without conditions. Charlie filled a space Marcus left empty. From day one, he'd wait by the door for me, curl at my feet when I cried in the kitchen, and nuzzle my hand when I couldn't sleep. Marcus barely acknowledged him. "Why'd you get a dog if I'm barely home?" he asked. I didn't answer. I didn't know how to say, "Because I'm tired of being alone, even when you're next to me." Then Tara came back into my life. My best friend from college, beautiful, bold, always the center of attention. She'd moved back to town and we reconnected easily. She said she missed our laughs, our wine nights, and honestly, I needed the distraction. For a while, it felt good to have someone to talk to, but slowly, things shifted. Tara started coming over more often, too often. She was always dressed a little too well for a casual visit. She'd greet Marcus a little too cheerfully. One time, she brought him his favorite iced coffee, extra shot of espresso, no sugar. I never told her how he liked it. Little things piled up. A lingering glance. A laugh that was too much. Her touching his arm for no reason. Marcus never pulled away. He didn't even notice how I'd stiffen next to him. Or maybe he did, and just didn't care. One evening, we were all watching a movie. Tara was seated a bit too close to him on the couch. My phone buzzed, and I stepped away to take the call. When I came back, Charlie was growling softly. Not barking, just this low, vibrating sound in his throat. He was staring at Tara. I had to call his name twice before he stopped. I laughed it off. She joked, "Maybe he's jealous of me." I smiled. But I felt something twist in my chest. After that, I started noticing more. Marcus would get texts and tilt his phone away. He started working late again. Tara cancelled on me last minute a few times, only for me to see her posting pictures out at a place she didn't mention. Still, I doubted myself. I told myself I was being paranoid. That I was looking for reasons to blame someone, anyone, for a marriage already falling apart. I even told my therapist about my suspicions. She asked, "What does your gut say?" I didn't answer. Because deep down, I already knew, but what haunted me more was Charlie's behavior. Every time Tara came over, his ears would go back. He'd follow her with his eyes. Once, he growled again, quiet but firm. I told him to stop, embarrassed. She laughed it off. Marcus didn't even look up. At night, while Marcus scrolled his phone beside me in bed, I stared at the ceiling. My dog curled at my feet. And I wondered how I ended up here, so disconnected from the man I married, unsure if my best friend was really my friend, and the only one showing me any real concern, had 4 legs and couldn't speak. That's the thing. I stopped trusting myself. But Charlie never stopped trusting me. He knew something. He was trying to tell me. And soon, I'd learn the truth I wasn't ready for. The betrayal wasn't coming. It was already here. Let me know when you'd like section 2, Next 760 words, written, absolutely. Here is section 2 of the script, minimum 760 words, keeping it direct, emotionally sharp, and consistent with your requirements. It was a Friday. I remember that clearly because Marcus had texted me mid-morning to say he'd be working late again. No explanation. No emotion. Just late meeting. Don't wait up. I didn't even bother replying. I'd stopped asking questions a long time ago. Tara and I had made plans earlier that week. Girls' night. Wine, takeout, and those silly crime shows we used to watch in college. Around 4 p.m., she messaged me saying she wasn't feeling well and needed to rest. I told her it was fine, but something about the message felt lazy. Like she hadn't even tried to come up with an excuse. Still, I didn't push. A meeting of mine got cancelled last minute, so I decided to go home early. I figured I'd surprise Marcus if he was still around, or maybe just get a little time to myself. But when I pulled into the driveway, his car was already there. I stood at the door for a moment. Something felt off. The lights were on in the guest room, which was strange because we never used it. As I walked inside, Charlie met me at the door, his tail low, body tense. He didn't bark, just started pacing toward the hallway. Then he stopped in front of the guest room door and growled. Not a confused growl. Not playful. It was low. Protective. Direct. I froze. I didn't call out. I didn't knock. I just turned the doorknob slowly and opened it. There they were. Tara's jacket was on the floor. Marcus was half-dressed, standing awkwardly as if I had just caught him stealing. Tara was sitting on the edge of the bed, not even pretending to be shocked. Her hair was messy. She looked at me, then looked away, almost annoyed. Marcus opened his mouth but nothing came out. His face was pale. His hands shook. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't cry. I just looked at them both. And I felt nothing. That scared me more than anything. I had cried over this man for months. I had doubted my worth, wondered if I was too needy, too cold, too boring. And here he was, betraying me with the one person I never expected. The one I had welcomed into my home. Charlie stood beside me the whole time, never taking his eyes off Tara. She moved toward me, said my name like she was trying to explain. I raised my hand and shook my head. I didn't want to hear it. Marcus stuttered some nonsense about how it wasn't what it looked like, but he didn't even believe his own words. I told him to pack his things. He didn't argue. I packed his suitcase myself, placed it by the door, and walked away. Later that night, I sat on the floor in the bedroom, the one that still smelled like him, and just stared. No tears. Just questions running through my mind like wildfire. How long had this been going on? Were they together the whole time? Did they laugh about me behind my back? Did they ever feel guilty? Then I remembered all the signs. Every time Tara complimented him. Every late night meeting. Every time Charlie growled. And I remembered brushing it all off. Telling myself not to be paranoid. Believing the lie that being a good wife meant being quiet, being trusting, being forgiving. Charlie curled up beside me, resting his head on my lap. And in that moment, I realized something that broke me all over again. My dog had been trying to warn me. He had sensed the tension, the deception, the shift in energy. He had growled, paced, stood between me and them. And I had ignored him, just like I had ignored myself. Marcus texted me the next morning. Apologies. Blaming stress. Saying it just happened. Tara sent a voice note full of fake tears and no accountability. I didn't respond to either. I blocked them both. I took Charlie for a walk that afternoon. The air was sharp, cold. He walked a little closer than usual. I think he knew I was unraveling. But his presence grounded me. He was loyal. Protective. Honest. He'd shown me more emotional awareness in minutes than Marcus had in years, and in the middle of that walk, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let their betrayal define me. I wasn't going to drown in questions or wait for closure. I had the truth. I had enough. They lied. They broke me. But I still had one soul who never wavered. Who saw the truth and never turned away. What Marcus hid for 3 years, Charlie revealed in a single moment, and I would never ignore my instincts again. Ready for section 3 whenever you are. Absolutely. Here is section 3 of the script, minimum 760 words, written with the same clarity, emotional sharpness, and no repetition. After I blocked Marcus and Tara, everything felt strangely quiet. Not peaceful, just empty. I expected a flood of pain or anger to hit me like a wave, but what I felt was clarity. I had spent 3 years waiting for a version of Marcus that no longer existed. Or maybe he never did. I kept thinking I could fix something that had already rotted from the inside. There was no apology that could rewrite the silence. No explanation that could undo the nights I cried myself to sleep while he was texting her. What shocked me most wasn't the betrayal. It was how little they fought for me when the mask came off. No grand apologies. No desperate attempts to explain. Just excuses and silence that told me everything. I wasn't leaving someone who made a mistake. I was leaving someone who saw me as optional. Replaceable. A placeholder until someone more convenient stepped in. And that someone happened to be my best friend. People talk about heartbreak like it comes from a dramatic ending. But for me, the real heartbreak was in the slow, invisible erosion. It was in watching someone fall out of love with you day by day, and pretending not to notice. I moved out of the house 2 weeks later. My sister let me stay in her guest room while I figured things out. I took very little with me, some clothes, my journals, and Charlie. That's all I needed. I didn't care about furniture or dishes or shared memories that had been contaminated. I just wanted space. Charlie adjusted faster than I did. It was like he knew we were finally safe. He stopped growling at shadows. He slept better. And for the first time in months, so did I. I started writing again, something I'd stopped doing shortly after we got married. Not novels or poetry. Just thoughts. Feelings I had suppressed for too long. I posted one entry online without thinking much of it. It was a raw piece about emotional neglect, and surprisingly, it connected. Women began messaging me, saying they felt seen. That they, too, had silenced their instincts, justified their partner's absence, excused red flags. That gave me purpose. I turned my pain into something useful. Not for closure, but for connection. Because if betrayal isolates you, truth has a way of drawing people in. I never responded to Marcus's last message. He said he missed me. That Tara wasn't what he thought. That he made a mistake. I didn't even open it fully. I didn't need to. He wasn't sorry for what he did. He was sorry he got caught. As for Tara, she vanished. Unfollowed me. Moved out of town. Typical. When the mask slipped, she couldn't bear to face the mirror. I never wanted revenge. I just wanted distance. And that was exactly what I gave them. My healing didn't come in some dramatic rebirth. It came in small, quiet choices. Choosing to walk Charlie each morning. Choosing to unfollow old memories. Choosing silence over answering messages that only reopened wounds. People assume infidelity is always about sex or passion. But sometimes it's just about ego. About wanting attention without responsibility. Marcus didn't cheat because I lacked something. He cheated because he lacked integrity. And Tara didn't betray me because I was a bad friend. She did it because she saw what I had, and instead of building her own, she took the shortcut. It took me 3 years to unlearn the belief that love means enduring everything. That staying is stronger than leaving. But love without respect is just slow self-destruction. Charlie reminded me what loyalty actually looks like. He sensed what I ignored. He reacted when I hesitated. He never needed proof to know something wasn't right. That kind of instinct, it's rare. And I finally learned to trust it. I used to be afraid of being alone. Now I understand that alone doesn't mean abandoned. It means free. Free from manipulation. Free from pretending. Free from waiting for someone to become who they promised to be. They lost me. Not because I changed. But because I finally saw them for who they really were, and I'm okay with that. I wake up now without dread. I eat without forcing small talk. I smile without faking it. There's still pain, sure. But there's also peace. And that peace came the moment I stopped begging to be chosen by someone who never deserved me. What Marcus couldn't give me in 3 years, honesty, presence, love, my dog gave me in a single moment. And I'll never question his instincts, or mine, again. Of course. Here's section 4 of the script, minimum 760 words, written with the same direct, emotionally rich tone, and no repetition or filler. Months passed. I didn't mark the days or wait for milestones. Healing didn't come in neat stages, it came in unexpected moments. Like laughing at a joke without guilt. Or cooking for myself without sadness. Or walking past a familiar cafe and realizing I no longer remembered what Marcus used to order. People kept asking if I'd forgiven them. Forgiveness is a tricky word. What most people really mean is, have you let go enough to make others comfortable again? My answer is simple. I released the anger, but I never excused the betrayal. I didn't forgive to offer them peace. I did it to take mine back, the version of myself that stayed quiet for years, that accepted less, that silenced her own instincts. That version deserved better. I forgive her too. She did the best she could with the love she had and the lies she believed. I went back to school part-time. Took a course in psychology. It wasn't planned. I just wanted to understand why people do the things they do. But somewhere along the way, I started seeing myself clearer. Not as a victim, not as broken, but as someone who survived dishonesty and still chose honesty for herself. Charlie became my anchor. We had a rhythm now. Morning walks, coffee runs, quiet nights where he'd lay beside me as I read. His presence reminded me of something so simple yet easy to forget. Consistency is love. Not grand gestures. Not promises. Just showing up every day. People around me began to change, or maybe I just saw them differently. Friends who used to gossip now seemed exhausting. Those who sat with me in silence without needing an explanation, they stayed. I learned that real loyalty doesn't have to announce itself. It shows up quietly, when no one is watching. I ran into Marcus once. By accident. At a grocery store. He looked thinner. Tired. He gave me a half smile, like he didn't know what he was allowed to feel. I nodded, polite but distant. There was nothing left to say. That chapter was sealed. And honestly, I didn't feel hate. I felt nothing. Tara never resurfaced. I heard through someone that she moved to another city. New job. New friends. Probably a new version of herself too. I hope she finds what she's looking for. I really do. But I'm no longer part of her journey, and she's no longer part of mine. What surprised me most was how betrayal changed my standards. I used to crave romance. Now I crave emotional safety. The ability to speak without fear. The comfort of being seen, not just looked at. I stopped entertaining half-hearted connections. I'd rather be alone than confused. People often say, "You're so strong." But strength wasn't a choice. It was survival. I didn't wake up one day empowered. I got tired of crying. Tired of hoping someone else would fix what I was drowning in. So I pulled myself out. One hard truth at a time. I started journaling again, not for an audience this time, but just for myself. My voice came back stronger, less filtered. I didn't sugarcoat my feelings. I stopped editing my pain. And somewhere in those pages, I found her again, the woman I was before. Silence became my default. Healing isn't a final destination. It's ongoing. There are still days I flinch at certain memories. Or question if I missed something I should have seen earlier. But then I remind myself, knowing the truth late is still better than living a lie forever. Marcus used to say I was too sensitive. But sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a signal. It's how I felt the distance long before it became visible. It's how I noticed the shift in energy, the tone in his voice, the cold in his silence. And it's how I knew, without proof, that something was deeply wrong. Charlie didn't speak, but he saw. He felt it all. The shift in air. The wrongness of it. While I tried to justify, he reacted. That instinct, that unshakable trust in what felt off, was what saved me. What my husband couldn't see in 3 years, my worth, my presence, my loyalty, my dog sensed in 1 minute. That moment was the turning point. The moment I stopped second-guessing and started listening to myself again. Now, I build a life rooted in that same instinct. Quiet. Steady. Whole. And if something doesn't feel right, I don't argue with it. I listen. Because sometimes, the soul speaks before the mind understands, and I've learned, finally, that when something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Even if it smiles at you. Even if it swears it loves you. Even if it once did, because truth doesn't lie in words. It lies in patterns. in presence, in instinct. And I'll never ignore mine again. Let me know if you'd like to turn this full 4-part story into a voiceover format, or need title suggestions, thumbnail hooks, or anything else for your video.